Hello friends, welcome back to our show on the Watchman, and in this episode we want to discuss a very wonderful topic. It's called Don't Bow Down. It's very important we stand tall for our conviction, and we open up the Word of God to start in the book of Daniel. And I read from the first chapter of the book, and it says in chapter 1, verse 8, "But Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's delicacies, nor with the wine which he drank." Now, I don't say you can never drink wine, but what I'm saying is Daniel purposed in his heart. He has made a decision before the temptation came. He was predetermined in his heart that I'm not going to defile my life with whatever comes from the king's table. And I believe that is a very important point that we need to make. I mean, if a temptation comes and you still have to make up your mind what to do, you're already too late. And Daniel had purposefully, he had decided, I don't want to defile myself. I want to keep myself clean. And the reason he needed that is what we will see as we continue our research, our quest in the book of Daniel. Because there will be many more opportunities for him to defile himself or to compromise his conviction for the sake of acceptance. And we all can come into positions where we are tempted to do the same. If we just consider Peter, Peter denied Christ in a crisis moment. And just before it happened, the Lord said, "Peter, Peter, before the cock crows 3 times, you will deny me." And he said, "Me, not me. Maybe the others, but not me." But then the same night, when he was in the court where Jesus was caught, this girl came up to him a second time. And then the guy said, "Were you not with Jesus?" And then, because he was controlled by fear of rejection, he said, "I never knew the man." And he denied, and then the cock crowed. And then, of course, he cried bitter tears. He failed the Lord. Now, I have good news for you. Peter was forgiven by Jesus and he was restored. But we all know prevention is better than cure. And Peter didn't know himself. He didn't know that inside his heart, he still had a coward that would bow down when pressure was on him. And it's under pressure that the truth will come out. We have this saying, "A pressure of the milk will produce a cheese. A pressure of a rose leaf will produce a sweet aroma, a perfume." Because what is inside will come out when there is a pressure. And when you kick a dustbin, then dust will come out. And this is what is happening. And so God may allow at certain points of time pressure to bring to the surface what is inside. And then if you fail and you acknowledge your failure, you will be forgiven. There's a new start, always with God, because God is not after failing you. He wants you to be successful in your walk with Him. And Daniel is a great man. He had determined that he had decided purposefully in his heart, "I will not defile myself." But then as we move on in the chapters and we come to chapter 3, and I believe this is a very accurate story today. Of course, most of you are aware that since March 2020, there's a global lockdown because of the fear of the coronavirus. It has hit the whole world. Almost every country has lockdowns locally or nationally for a period of time, or even extended periods of time, with severe persecutions if you fail to bow down for the decision of the government. And this is certainly well, it is a preparation for the coming of the Antichrist, as the Bible talks about this man coming to the surface. But in the book of Daniel, there is this king called Nebuchadnezzar, and he was definitely one of the most powerful kings ever lived in history. His kingdom, the Babylonian kingdom, is the greatest kingdom. It's called the golden head of the statue described in the book of Daniel. And at a certain point of time, this king had decided that he would make an image, and he wanted everyone to bow down for the image. It says in chapter 3, Nebuchadnezzar the king made an image of gold whose height, and look at this, if you have an understanding of numbers, 60 cubits, and its width 6 cubits. 6 is the number of men. Man and animals were created on the sixth day. And it was 6 by 6, and he set it up in the plain of Judah in the province of Babylon. And King Nebuchadnezzar sent word to gather together, now listen to this, the satraps, the administrators, the governors, the counselors, the treasurers, the judges, the magistrates, and all the officials of the provinces to come to the dedication of the image which King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. It means all the leaders, the authorities, the police, the mayor, so to speak, in modern language. All the people in a position of power in the kingdom were demanded to come and celebrate this image. So the satraps, the administrators, the governors, the counselors, the treasurers, the judges, the magistrates, and all the officials of the provinces gathered together for the dedication of the image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up, and they stood before the image that he had set up. Then a herald cried. You know, our ministry is called Herald of Good News, but this is a herald of bad news. It's a messenger from hell, so to speak. And the herald cried out loud, "To you it is commanded." Imagine, this is a command to bow down for a man-made image. It is commanded, O peoples, nations, and languages, that at the time you hear the sound of the horn, the flute, the harp, the lyre, and the psaltery in symphony with all kinds of music, you shall fall down and worship the gold image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. There is a pressure from the King of Kings, not the biblical King of Kings, but the most powerful king on the earth, that all tongues and nations and languages were commanded to bow down. When I look at the world today, in the actual news, we see that the global leaders, I mean, this is the elites, the small minority of world leaders have joined hands together for all the nations to bow down for their strategy and their plan for the pandemic of coronavirus. And they are forced to do that. And there are almost no exceptions. Everyone, and if you don't bow down, it has severe persecutions, as we will see in the next verses. And before we continue in our research and understanding, let's have a little break. See you after the break. welcome back after the break. We will continue our research on the story of Daniel that did not bow down. And as we have seen, that they all were forced to bow down. And it says, the herald, the messenger, is saying that at the time you hear the sound of the horn, flute, harp, lyre, and all the instruments, you will bow down and worship the gold image that the king had set up. And whoever does not fall down and worship shall be cast immediately into the midst of a burning, fiery furnace. You can imagine the amazing pressure upon humanity, upon all the inhabitants of the kingdom of Babylon. They didn't want to go into the fire. No one wants to go into the fire. So today we see the same pressure. I don't know about your nation, but in the Netherlands, if you don't obey the rules, they put you in quarantine. They can give you a ticket for 400 or 4,000 or 10,000. Extreme, as if you're a criminal. They can even give you a criminal record if you don't go with the guidelines that were demanded by the international community. And it says, so at that time, when all the people heard the sound of the horn, flute, harp, and lyre, and symphony with all kinds of music, all the peoples, all the nations, and all languages fell down and worshipped the gold image which King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. And we see it happening today. All the nations follow it. They have lockdowns. They have 1.5 meter distance. They have mouth caps. It's like they want to stop you to speak up the truth, and they mouth cap you. And therefore, at that time, certain Chaldeans came forward and accused the Jews. They spoke and said to King Nebuchadnezzar, O king, live forever. These guys, they were flattering the king. O king, live forever. I want you to know, there is somebody, you, O king, have made a decree that everyone who hears the sound of the horn, flute, harp, lyre, and psaltery in symphony with all kind of music shall fall down and worship the gold image. They reminded the king, this is what you demanded. And whoever does not fall down and worship shall be cast into the midst of a burning fire. There are certain Jews who you have set over the affairs of the province of Babylon, named Sadrach, Mesheck, and Abednego. These men, O king, have not paid due regard to you. They do not serve your gods or worship the gold image which you have set up. Then Nebuchadnezzar was enraged and furious, gave the command to bring these three men. So they brought them before the king, and he said to them, is it true, Sadrach, Mesheck, and imagine, they were governors, they were high-positioned political leaders in the country of Babylon. They were not nobodies. They were not just simple citizens. They were leaders, and they refused to bow down. Is it true that you do not serve my gods or worship the gold image which I have set up? Can you imagine the tremendous pressure coming when the whole society is bowing down and you are considered a rebel because you do not bow down? I want you to know, we live in an hour in this world that we will be considered rebels if we do not bow down. It is a global desire to vaccinate the whole world for the need of not having corona. There is no need. This is a lie. This is the lie of the millennium. And it is spread all over the world. The number of people dying is very limited, but in the news, and it says all the instruments, you know, it says horn, flute, harp, lyre, psaltery, symphony, all kind of music. It's like not instruments, but the instruments today is the media, the billboards, the newspaper, the internet, YouTube. All these channels blare the same message. You need to be vaccinated or you die, or you're a murderer. You kill your mother-in-law if you are contagious. You spread the disease. And if you don't agree with these lies, you are considered a rebel, a heretic, You're an enemy of the state. You should be killed. That is actually the direction the society is going. And the shocking thing is, this is not national. This is happening internationally. It's happening all over the world, if you can see it. And I want you to realize there are 3 guys here that are not bowing down. They had guts, and we need guts not to bow down. And he said, now, if you're ready, at the time you hear the sound of the horn, flute, lyre, psaltery, and symphony with all the kind of music, and you fall down and worship the image I have made good. But, if you do not worship, you shall be cast immediately in the midst of a burning, fiery furnace. And here is the mistake of the world. I want you to know, God is bigger than all the powers of darkness combined. This king said, and who is the God who will deliver you from my hands? Well, I don't know you, but I know the God I serve is almighty, He is omnipresent, He is omniscient, He knows everything, He is everywhere, He controls. My life is in His hands. And so Sadrach, Mesheck, and Abednego answered and said to the king, I love this. Listen to me, friends. There is a pressure coming from the community around you. If you stand tall against these lies, they want to discuss with you. Endless discussions. Their opinion, your opinion, and so on. But sometimes we don't need to discuss. We don't need to answer the world. We need to answer God. Our accountability is not to the world. Our accountability is to God. And this is what they said. And I love this so much. They said, O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. And the Dutch translation says, we have no need to answer you in any way. In other words, we are not going to answer your questions. We don't have to explain why we do not bow down for your idols. We have just made our decision. And if that is the case, that we are thrown in the fire, our God, if that is the case, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning, fiery furnace. This is faith, my dear friends. You believe in a God who is bigger than all the power of darkness combined. And so they say, He will deliver us from your hands, O King. They declare the Almighty God. Now, the Dutch translation says, if God can deliver us, He will deliver us. So, this is a little bit different in English, but I want you to understand that they were maybe not really sure if God could or would deliver them, but nevertheless, they say, but if not, with other words, if God would not deliver us, we rather die in the fire than bow down. But if not, let it be known unto you, O King, that we do not serve your gods, nor will we worship the gold image which you have set up. Man, these guys are bold. And you know, I made this statement. If something isn't worth dying for, it isn't worth living for. And another statement that I love is, and that's powerful, you know. If you don't stand for anything, you will fall for everything. We need to stand for something. And this something is not just something, it's the word of the living God. And we live in a time that true Christians need to rise up and stand for the truth, because the truth will set them free. Friends, this is such a powerful story, and we have just scratched the surface. Unfortunately, our time for this episode is over, but please keep on looking as we continue to find amazing things happening when we dare not to bow down and stand for the truth in the next episode. See you next time. God bless you.